Hey everybody, Cliff Ravenscraft here with podcastanswerman.com, and I'm going to share with you 10 ideas for greater audience engagement. A lot of people come to me and say, Cliff, I noticed that people are downloading my episodes, but I just can't seem to get any audience engagement. I ask them to write me email, I ask them to leave me a comment on the blog, or to leave me a voicemail on the feedback hotline. Nobody seems to be interacting with me. Well, tip number one here is to engage with their content first. Rather than you spending time posting on social media, expecting them to leave comments on your post or click through to your links to your content, what if you spent 15 to 20 minutes every single day in your news feed looking for your audience's posts? And it doesn't their posts don't even have to be related to your topic or your area of expertise or your niche focus for your podcast. What if you just saw them as human beings who have lives, who are sharing things that they want to celebrate, that they want to share and ask for advice on, or whatever the case may be? Just go in and leave a comment on their social media post. Add value to their lives without expecting anything in return. And I promise you, you do this enough, people will start to notice you and they'll actually start to engage with you as well. Let's just say you don't know who anybody who's listening to your show is. Well, then let's go into a Facebook group that has a focus of what your show is focused on, and go in and build some relationships there. And if you're not on Facebook, then do it on LinkedIn. Do it somewhere. Find your idea perfect audience and begin to build relationships with people one person at a time. And then once you're connected with them in social media, then go in on a daily basis or a couple times a week and engage with their content first. All right, tip number 2, ask lots of questions. Ask people about themselves. When anybody ever leaves you a comment on your blog, always respond with a question. Hey, what is it about this episode that spoke to you? Or is there anything I can help you with personally? I'd love to reach out and have an email conversation. If you want to email me, here's my email address. Ask them questions and get to know as much as you can, and just build a list of things you learn about the people you engage with. Ask questions. Number 3, shine the spotlight on your audience. This is where you share their stories of success. Share something that you saw that they're doing that has inspired you. Tell their story. I know that when somebody says, hey, Cliff, I talked about you in my most recent episode, I'm always intrigued to find out what in the world that person said about me. And so at the very least, I'm going to go and listen. And chances are, if it's a really great thing that you've said about them, they might even share it with their friends. It's like, oh, wow, I'm so blown away by what so-and-so just said about me. Here's a link to their podcast episode. Shine the spotlight on your audience. They love the spotlight. Number 4, prioritize your email list. Now, come on, guys. I was guilty about this for many years. I did not take my mailing list seriously. That has changed. If you're not already on the list and actually watching this video because of my podcast development newsletter that I send out every Friday, head over to podcastanswerman.com/newsletter. Prioritize the idea of sending your community gifts of great value on a consistent basis using your mailing list. When people are listening to your podcast, they're out doing something in their car, or they're on a plane, they're traveling, they're mowing the yard, they're doing the dishes, whatever the case may be, they're at the gym. And for them to actually say, oh, you know what, I do want to leave some feedback. I would love to send them an email. But by the time they get in front of a computer, they've forgotten. They've had other things come up. We all have busy lives and get distracted. But if you can get those folks to actually sign up for your mailing list by being enticed by all the value that you're giving them there, then all of a sudden you can begin to deliver on a consistent basis valuable information that they will love and see as a great gift. And I promise you that if you actually consistently send them emails of great value that actually they find valuable, not that you find valuable, but they find it valuable, I promise you, if you were to ask them, let me know what you thought about this and hit reply, I guarantee you will start to see some crazy engagement. All right. Idea number 5, create online community environments of your own. LinkedIn groups, Facebook groups. I guess you could still do a Google Plus community. I think they're still online. Create an online community where you can let your audience connect with you directly, and more importantly, where they can begin to connect with each other. Like-minded people connecting with each other is a wonderful benefit of being a part of any community. And I always like to think of my audience as a community. Idea number 6, reach out and touch someone. Now, that is the old slogan for AT&T from years ago. And I had, back in my very first podcast was devoted to the TV show Lost, we had a listener feedback hotline, and people could call in and leave voicemail. And when they did, in the email subject line, the service that I used allowed me to have their telephone number. It had their caller ID in the subject line. And I had this one person who called all the time. I decided one day after he called again, I picked up my phone and I dialed the number on the caller ID and I said, "Hey, Dean, it's Cliff Ravenscraft." He goes, "What? Who is this?" And I said, "Cliff Ravenscraft from the Lost podcast." And he was blown away. And you would have thought he was talking to some celebrity that from Hollywood or something. He was that shocked and just encouraged to actually think that he could talk to Cliff Ravenscraft, which still blows my mind that anybody would think about me that way. We don't even make phone calls anymore today on our phones, but I tell you what, this has an impact. All right, number 7, set yourself reminders. We all have calendars we use today, right? Well, I'll tell you one thing that I do is if I have some engagement with a community member of mine and they say, "Hey, Cliff, I thank you so much. I really valued what you shared in this week's episode. I'm really going through a difficult time. I'm getting ready to go into surgery in 3 weeks on such and such date." And what I do is I go into my calendar and the day before that surgery, I make a note that, "Hey, so-and-so has surgery tomorrow." Send an email letting them know that you're praying for them. Set yourself reminders. Number 8, collaborate with your closest community members. These are the people that you've really connected with and you gel with in a wonderful way. And I've done this many times with people like Andy Traub, who I eventually invited to become a co-host of a podcast I did a while ago called Business Tech Weekly, or my friend Eric J. Fisher, who I eventually invited to become a co-host of a podcast I used to do called Social Media Serenity. Find some of the people who you just like, wow, we connect really well together. And you don't have to create a podcast with them, but find ways to collaborate. Find ways to work on things together. Chances are, if these people are really cool and you really like them, other people really like them as well. And if all of a sudden you're starting to work on projects together and you're both promoting it, well, when you promote it to your audience and it's done in conjunction with them, you're exposing them to your audience and they are exposing you to their audience or their network of people. The next one is create some live streaming. Now, of course, this is an old talk that I did a long time ago. Meerkat's no longer available, but this is a screenshot of me testing out Meerkat for the very first time. Get out there and do some live streams and engage with people and connect with them and just let them ask you questions. And hey, don't forget to ask them questions. And then number 10, community meetups. This is something that you'll want to consider once your community starts to grow to a sizable level. If you're going to a conference, something that I've done is many times when I go to a conference, I will reserve a place for me to connect with people who listen to my show. And that's what you see. This slide right here is 3 different community meetups that I've hosted where people from my community were also attending that conference. And some of them actually weren't attending the conference I was speaking at, but they were maybe living in the area and they came to the meetup. And some of you might be thinking, wait a second, I can't keep up with all that. I can't call all these people. I can't engage with it. You know what? This is not scalable. But in the early days when you're complaining, hey, I don't have enough feedback from my audience, well, I promise you this. If you were to do for some what you wish you could do for everyone, you'll find that the audience engagement will be flowing freely. I hope this helps, and I wish you great success in engaging with your community and seeing them as extremely valuable individual human beings that are listening to your show, giving you their precious time. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.